Are you on the edge of your seat? Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams, covering today's latest trends in location-based entertainment. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire. All right, everyone, let's buckle up.
All right, well, welcome to Sound Off with Kevin Williams. This is episode number 118 for April 21st, 2026. Kevin, my friend, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, in chaos and confusion, but fine, thank you.
All right, good. Well, so then it sounds like everything's normal. Perfect. Yeah. All right, well, let's dive in. How are you going to change my mind this week?
Well, we're living during the recording of this during the tail end of CinemaCon, and that's brought up a couple of questions for us to consider. The big one being, is the Cinetainment model really the only lifeline that the traditional cinema theatre key operation has to depend upon? The conversations during the Las Vegas event were very telling. We had the situation of the tentpole films being revealed, which is the key reason for CinemaCon, to keep everybody happy. That there are fantastic films in the future and that they're going to be looking at great box office. But there was a lot of umming and ahhing about the list of films, the reaction by the audience in the current geopolitical situation regarding how much money people have in their pockets to spend. And if they are going to spend, are they going to want to have a longer dwell time and wider entertainment offering? And so Cinetainment, for those of you that have not been falling asleep during my presentations, fundamentally means the deployment of an entertainment mix alongside, a hospitality and entertainment mix alongside your cinema. I would argue that most of the Cinetainment venues that we see out there, the Evos and all of the others, offer a slightly higher than normal kind of cinema experience rather than just the traditional bleachers and soundstage. But from where I'm sitting, and we've touched upon this in a recent Open and Shut, the model needs to be distinguished enough, distinctive enough, entertaining enough to stand out from the crowd, because replacing one problem with another problem, if you're not seeing the box office from films, let's just throw all of our money into box office burgers and arcade machines. I think our friends at Dave & Buster's can say that you can't just jump in with that. You do need to have some kind of level of distinction between your entertainment offering and the rest.
Yeah. I mean, it is disappointing to me that this is the direction that we find ourselves in. While obviously a big fan of the Cinetainment model, I'm a fan of differentiated Cinetainment model. Let's be clear there. We don't need just another. We talked about a couple of days ago on Open and Shut. Some of the new hooky that's out there, and they're in 10 locations, and they've got bowling and arcade and F&B, and granted an upscaled F&B, but then also cinema. But that sounds just like every other Cinetainment location that's out there. What I do hope is that we still can find that the boutique cinema experiences, there's a few in my area that are, the dine-in cinemas, for example, that aren't just there to go and watch the movie, but that you can have a nice dinner and drinks and cocktails while you're watching a movie, unlimited popcorn, that kind of thing. And, there's no other entertainment besides the movies and the food. I think those at a smaller scale, 8 screens, 7 screens can work, and they do work, especially, if they're really tied to the community and they really lean into the cinephiles. They're running, old B movies and C movies from back in the day, as well as then, reruns, and as well as the new movies that are coming through. I think that model can work as well. And it's a much more, I feel like, much more about the films and less about just the pure entertainment.
There's one thing that wasn't touched upon during CinemaCon, and we've already touched upon it, funny enough, in a previous sound off, and that was secret cinema, really. And if you can't get the audience enthralled in just the normal cinema experience, then elevate it to a new level of cinema experience with live actors and thematrics and even a dining model built around that. This is a big departure for most cinema operators to even consider, but it is an example of an immersive entertainment experience that is building upon the cinema model. We have at least three different options. Option one is you go for dining, comfy seats, or even beds in some cinemas, the hot and cold running steaks and cocktails model approach. You can go for the IMAX big experience, immersive experience approach, or you can now turn towards Cinetainment. And from the theatre operator's perspective, Cinetainment offers them an easier transference or transmogrification even towards being profitable, rather than trying to depend on the current model that they're using. But we will touch upon this a little bit more as we get into this particular sound off.
Perfect. Well, coming up right after the break, we will dive right into the trends.
Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Thank you. And jumping into the travail of the current economy situation, and I wake up a couple of days to open political conflict between my country of birth and my country of employment, as it were. The majority of my clients are American-based. The Stinger Report's largest subscription audience is American-based, along with our European coverage. It's a close-run thing. It's pretty daunting now with the current situation going on, where all of the trade deals seem to be being torn up, and there's lots of anger and shaking of fists at each other. I am just hoping that this situation can calm, and more level-headed political negotiations can be done to sort this out. But the reason I bring this up is this will have an impact. There will now be companies that were planning to be exhibiting at a number of the American shows coming up that will now have to reevaluate their position based upon the current political temperature.
Yeah, unfortunate that we have another incident where there's the kid in the candy store who's been told no and is stomping his feet and throwing a temper tantrum. So, let's hope that, as you said, cooler heads prevail, and that the right people around him start to rein him in a little bit more, as things tend to after he has a chance to throw his fit.
The situation has doubled regarding its impact on entertainment, hospitality, especially airline and the hotel industry has woken up to the realization that the FIFA World Cup this year is going to not be what they were hoping for. We have seen massive cancellations of airline tickets and of hotels, and we're now seeing massive discounting of hotel units during the expected games, though we're now also faced with the possibility that certain teams that had been expected to come over for the World Cup may not be able to do that for various political as well as logistical reasons. The expense in shipping so many people under the current conditions due to the conflict in the Middle East, the impact of certain countries' citizens feeling uncomfortable about the immigrational and the signing into the United States, and also the general cost of the tickets for the World Cup. A lot of people were complaining even before this situation. And that ramification is hitting across other sports as we wake up to the news that, as I talked about in the last sound off, that the Saudi fund had been the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, give it its full title, had started to make noises as the start of the Middle East conflict that they would be pulling back on certain of their investments into Western opportunities due to the situation. It is now being alluded to quite strongly that the PIF is going to be pulling out of their investment into Live. This is the contentious Saudi-backed golf tournament, the one that was taking on, that had pulled in all of the big stars from the golfing stage and created this multi-billion-dollar enterprise that was going to take over the world. Well, when the tap gets turned off, the bath empties very quickly, and now we have some very overpriced golfers now scratching their heads about what they're going to be doing next, because they may have burnt their bridges in one direction and someone's stolen taken away the bridge in the other direction. Very embarrassing situation, and I expect to see a lot of Mel Cooper being uttered by professional athletes.
Yeah, this could be the nail in the coffin for Live Golf, unless some other large investor comes in to pour the crazy amounts of money that they were sending and throwing to the golfers to get them to move away from the PGA Tour. So, should be very interesting to see how that plays out. On a personal note, while it's incredibly disappointing that the World Cup is losing demand, as somebody sitting here in Phoenix looking to go to the World Cup, things just got a lot cheaper. So anyway, no, I'd much rather us not have the geopolitical issues and the financial concerns that, we're kicking up, all the hornets' nests around the world because of our political leaders. Would much rather it be a steady state and have a great World Cup that everybody can come to.
You may be the only one in the stadium. There may not be any teams on the pitch the way things are.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that the dam is going to break on a lot of this because of the financial implications. The money men don't care about the flag; they care about their bottom line, and I have a little faith. It is being stretched, but I have a little faith. But anyway, moving on and talking about the direct implications to our biz. And Sony gets up on stage, or CEO of Sony Group, and he breaks the uncomfortable news to the international investment and development market that the 60% of their bottom line, their total revenue, is coming not from their film business, not from their electronics business, not from their investment houses, but from video games. This got a lot of people surprised, so we say, to be the least, and especially during CinemaCon, having the head of Sony make this statement kind of makes people turn to Sony Pictures and go, well, that's very telling. Sony Music, that's very telling. Sony Electrics, that's very telling. Fundamentally, we are looking at a situation where the consumption of interactive entertainment media is playing a bigger part than all of those other operations combined. And that should be enough information for anyone that was doubtful about where interactive entertainment fits on a total global market than anything else. And I can tell you, I know some people still look at interactive entertainment media as a kind of, it sits alongside music, it sits alongside film, when in reality, it's bigger than all.
Yeah, this is surprising to me, given the fact that they have it just seems like the console gaming space has has just simmered, maybe calmed down, and so it's really surprising to me that Sony's gaming is now the top revenue driver at Sony. That's just really, really remarkable.
as some investment houses stated, well, it tells you how badly their other operations are doing. I don't want to jump on that one. We do know that Sony Pictures has had its fair share of restructuring over its operation. Sony Music, we know about what's going on there, and I would argue that Sony Electronics has also been in troubled times, though you could argue that Sony Electronics does include their console division, so there is a silver lining. I would also point to that Sony doesn't just sell content for their own console, but their content and their IP. Going back to my transmedia, if you're selling a Sony Pictures film to be turned into a location-based entertainment or into a video game, then that is part of that 60% of the revenue. How the cookie crumbles. But it was very telling, especially during CinemaCon week. CinemaCon week forces a lot of companies to make statements or to reveal developments, and the real cinema chain turned around and made it clear that they're going to be doubling down on their investment in the UK's cinema sector, and they also pointed to their new development, and real cinema is now pivoting towards a Cinetainment style of application, but specially focused. They're really seeing their next big transition into this market as being the centerpiece in a particular town or region with a multiplex or an entertainment hub, rather than just focusing on cinema.
Yeah, this feels right to me from a Cinetainment or just retailtainment destination. This isn't just about cinema. This isn't a Cinetainment destination like that we've talked about, like that encapsulates some bowling and a few other things. I really like the fact that they've gone, again, boutique cinema, 5 screens. You've got a family-oriented competitive socializing space. You've got extra restaurants that are probably subbed out. And then, again, creating a retailtainment destination. I'd like to see probably some shopping as well here, but at least you have, a pop-up store that's going to be related to some of the movies coming out, that kind of thing. Maybe we should get Fever involved. I don't know. Somebody let Fever know that there's maybe some space here that they can create some pop-up experiences. But I feel like something like that's needed. Some other additional experience here, but otherwise, this feels good. This feels like this is it could be a really good opportunity here.
This is going back to something I used to talk about 10 years ago, which is the entertainment mall, where it is rather than a shopping mall, depending on a entertainment anchor. The anchor is now running the ship, and you would have the cinema, the competitive socializing, the entertainment, then supported by the food and the retail. UK version, this will be repeated a lot more. And the growth of certain chains over other chains in location-based entertainment and the cinema sector, again, points where the barometer or the needle is heading. Our friends at The Light, we've touched upon them before. They offer a Cinetainment model of their own unique making. They have a very distinctive mixture of entertainment, competitive socializing, and a very comfortable cinema experience with the cocktail capability and all of that. And then, surprise, surprise, we wake up to the news or the rumor that they are now actively looking at Showcase Cinema, another chain in the UK, and wanting to add that to their mix. I think that this was partly spurred on by CinemaCon and people the journalists delving into all cinema-related stories and opportunities. But we're seeing here 14 cinemas in the Light chain looking towards adding 16 additional cinemas that will then have to be brought up to the standard of how the Light pushes their particular entertainment model. You can kind of see how this is taking over the traditional cinema approach. And remember, we were talking only a couple of months ago about the investment money that our friends at The Light had received towards growing their operation.
Yeah, I mean, this is look. You're either going to get consolidate, or you're going to evolve. And so this is the consolidation we're seeing on the other side of the evolution that we're seeing.
Yes, there is one other option which is a little messier, but
Yeah, of course.
let's stay positive. We were touching upon Evo, and Evo has also wanted to trumpet that they're doubling down on their investment and support of their platform, and that they're taking it to a new level. We have the first renderings of the new style of Evo facility, which is now going for a very phygital kind of approach on their branding. I'm not sure what it looks like inside, but we have already seen that they've gone for a particular layout of their cinema with their amusement and attraction component, as well as their F&B. And we're now at the point where they're really upping their game concerning the cinema component, with the announcement of a partnership with Dolby Laboratories to add the brand new latest projection technology to their screens. This is, if you can't drop in an IMAX, then you push your technology to give the best immersive level that you can. And I am interested to go into one of the next generation Evo facilities and not just nose around or mooch around the arcade and maybe have one of their hot dogs, but I will actually have to take in a film experience to then quantify how much they're pushing that level of engagement.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talk about differentiation in the what I would call the standard Cinetainment model, arcades, bowling, cinema, which is what Evo has in almost all of their venues. And if you're going to differentiate and stand out, then it's going to have to be both in the way that your facility physically and literally stands out amongst the crowd, but also in the experience you're delivering to the guests when it comes to watching cinema. And if I have the choice to go to the Santikos down the street from an Evo, or the Synergy around the corner from the Evo, and I can watch the film, Dune on a Dolby Vision Atmos TM, then I'm going to go and choose Evo if that's my option.
Destination experience. That's really where we're heading at the moment with these types of developments. We touched upon this in Open and Shut. We promised that we would go into a little bit more detail here at Sound Off. I mentioned that we'd lost a competitive socializing operation from the lineup in the UK. I also pointed out that this was an earlier operation that could chart its establishment at the beginning of the competitive socializing revolution that we've seen it. Our friends at Point Blank, they had facilities. Well, they really cut their teeth at the beginning with their Newcastle site. Then they opened up their Manchester and their Leeds operations, the north of the country, and aiming at a very unique market. The Point Blank experience was shooting bays, bay enclosures, big projection screen, pneumatic, weighted, realistic machine guns and automatic pistols that you could use in digital shooting gallery experiences. This was, Hogan's Alley with cocktails. And a lot of companies looked upon the Point Blank model and emulated it. And you could actually kind of say that our friends at Clay's have a very similar model to what Point Blank was offering, that they have taken it in a particular direction, building upon the interactive service through touchscreen and through much more themality and much more player engagement through the games. And it is that's the point I really want to make, which is just because you were first doesn't mean that you got everything right. And just because you were first, if you don't update and reiterate and redevelop yourself, then you will get left behind. Your stickiness will come to an end. Your audience will go to your competition who has emerged around you at that time. And really, we were faced with a situation a couple of months ago where the Manchester landlord just had enough. He wasn't receiving his payment. He locked everybody out, took away the keys. And we had a situation where the Manchester facility of Point Blank couldn't operate. They couldn't even contact people who had made bookings. This started a cascade where, we now know that the company's in trouble. They then try and pull themselves out of that trouble. They find that they can't find investment to support their operation, and they fall into, sadly, administration. And that is where we are at the moment. The Point Blank chain has closed down. And I would say this is a line in the sand for many other single entertainment cocktail dependent offering competitive socializing venues, because this could be a ticking time bomb. If you aren't iterating, if you aren't improving, then you will go the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, this is not, I mean, sort of not surprising. I mean, part of it is, they were one of the first, but they didn't evolve. So I think that's part of it. Their name, while is difficult to search for in a search engine. So if I hear about Point Blank and I want to find them, even in the UK, I changed my search engine while you were speaking to be in the UK, and I still searched Point Blank, and I had to specify venue, shooting range, etc., to try to get there. So there's a number of things going on here. Also, there's an element of, like picking up a machine gun and other things. Like, that's what's nice about clays, where, it's a shotgun, you're shooting clays, you're shooting other things. It's not just the clays, right? So it's a little bit more of a casual social experience, a little less aggressive than here. So anyway, it's too bad that they weren't able to evolve. But you know what? Sometimes they were a trailblazer, and some other models have certainly evolved and were born because of them.
And we will be seeing other screen shooting realistic experiences, but not as standalones, but as additions to other facilities as entertainment. Our friends at Shoot Away and other manufacturers of those type of systems offer this kind of experience, but in a package that can be deployed easily into other venues rather than having to be sold as a standalone. And then that jumps us to the new openings, and our friends at GameFace threw the doors open to their Manchester facility at Printworks. You've got to kind of wonder that as Point Blank in Manchester fell onto hard times, we then see a brand new competitive socializing venue open up just down the road, as it were. The issues that I want to point out here with the opening of GameFace is that this is developed by a company that comes from the competitive socializing sector. So this is, as I like to call it, the vampire running the blood bank. It's a developer of applications now running their own site. It gives them direct communication with their audience, and they can see what works and what doesn't work. This venue is interesting. The Printworks location offers already a mix of entertainment. It has a boom battle bar in there. It has a 10-pin chain in there. So you are going up against quite an established entertainment hub. I speak from personal experience. We briefly consulted on a project that went into Printworks, and it found it difficult to offer something away from the norm for this particular audience. So again, our friends at GameFace are going to be working very hard to ensure that their entertainment mix suits the distinctive audience that we see in that locality.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like the GameFace, it's actually a pretty good brand. I like it a lot. It obviously looks very similar to the rest of their branding, the Game Volt and Conductor branding that they have. But if this is just a single location designed to test their gameplay and put things out there, look, this is done a lot by a lot of manufacturers of these types of systems. They'll have their own venues that they can test these things in. It's one of the best ways to do it. But if this is something that is intended to be a future model that's rolled out internationally or even nationally, if we're talking about the UK exclusively, then I begin to get a little bit concerned here for people. It's hard when you have a vendor who's supplying these types of attractions to other competitive socializing venues, and then also potentially opening up as a competitor right down the street. Or if they have some sort of agreement with their buyers of their games where they won't come within a certain area, then also severely restricts their ability to expand, given who, depending on who is actually deploying these some of these systems, like, for example, Dave and Buster's, as they were for a period of time. And so I think that this is an interesting model. Again, Printworks is a great place for this. I think it is not directly in competition with the things that are already there at Printworks, although it is still, obviously, entertainment is entertainment, but Printworks is a entertainment destination. Yes. And this is a good location to test out some really innovative games.
Yeah, it's a perfect location to test. I would argue that because of the low key realization of conductors' involvement in this, they may be just using this as a test facility to start with, and then if it becomes more successful, that's something that you could franchise out and so keep your hands clean, as it were. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The dust is only just dying down on the opening, and we're looking forward to seeing some of those TripAdvisor reviews to see what the reaction is from the audience. England again, and we're soon to be recipients of a Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese has toyed with coming to Europe and the UK over many years, and now we have the clearest information that the third city of the UK, Birmingham, will be receiving a Chuck E. Cheese facility in their destination entertainment locality, Star City. Star City has quite a large cinema component to it, but it also has food hubs, bars, and entertainment venues, and it is felt that an entertainment chain such as Chuck E. Cheese would be a good mix. This will be under the previous Chuck E. Cheese management's dream of global domination through franchise deployment, and it would seem that as this project is still making headway for a 2027 launch, that the current or the new Chuck E. Cheese management is still rolling that ball.
Well, be interesting to see how well they do in the UK market.
I look forward to seeing how much they change from an American Chuck E. Cheese facility or a Philippines Chuck E. Cheese or a UAE Chuck E. Cheese facility for a UK facility. Because there is a very big danger that if you have too many different flavors of your entertainment facility, then it's very hard to wrangle. But again, I think that Chuck E. Cheese could work in the UK market from the research I do in that particular demographic. There aren't many alternatives to this other than the active entertainment trampoline facility for the birthday party for that type of age group, or the ball pits, those type of things. Again, the growth of the new generation of the bowling industry, which we touched upon in the last sound off. We just were a little bit out of time to include a mention about the annual Bowling Centre Architectural Design Awards that took place. And our friends at Brunswick Bowling, one of the leading manufacturers of the bowling technology in the sector, was supplying us information, shall we say, about the winners. And it was interesting that it was two mainland European facilities that won, one in France, one in Estonia, and both of them were heavily on the boutique and entertainment bowling approach rather than the more traditional sports bowling. So this kind of underpins a lot of what we were saying in our last comments about really where the bowling industry is looking towards their future success. The same way that the cinema industry is looking at Cinetainment, it is clear that the bowling industry is looking at the boutique competitive socializing approach.
Yeah, and All You Need also was a finalist for the IAPA FEC of the Year award. They did not win it, but they were a finalist. And the facility is truly beautiful and really unique. And they obviously have more than just bowling. They do have a full suite of entertainment, in various forms. So yeah, good to see that they were also at least recognized as an award winner for their design.
As well as Aloma, they also
Mhm.
have a mixture of what I would call amusement entertainment, along with bowling, along with F&B. This is the future. 41 years on from the awards, I think that going forwards, this will be the standard that will have to be matched. I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to seeing the first string bowling facility to actually receive some kind of recognition. But hey. We had, again, in mainland Europe, the appearance of a brand new brand. We've had F1 Arcade open in the UK. We've had F1 open in North America. And now we're at that stage where the franchise deal that they signed, I think a year ago, with a very well-known Spanish entertainment and sports corporation, shall we say. They finally nailed the opening of their first facility ahead of schedule. It actually had been, I was given information from the last press release that it was going to be end of 2026, beginning of 2027. Well, obviously the winds moved favorably for the development, and we have the rollout of the first Madrid, Spain facility. Yeah, here am I in London, and the family's in Madrid, and yeah, well, the gods are like that sometimes. I have to point out that F1 Arcade has received quite a considerable investment from a number of funds. They are seen as a key leader for franchise rollout and world domination, and so we get a glimpse with the Madrid facility of really what we're touching. And 1,500 square meters, similar size to the Las Vegas facility that we were at, on 2 floors. Seeing a pattern here. The restaurant and bar area looks very similar to what they achieved with the London St. Paul's facility, more than the darker approach that they went with the Las Vegas facility. 65 of their simulators. Usually we're seeing 70 and 80 being dropped into their sites. So 65 seems to be mid-ground. And I would say from the video of people walking around at the media event that the themality is still good, still strong, but not as intense as we had seen at some of the other F1 arcade facilities directly owned by the operation. All in all, a franchisee comes along, looks at what will work and won't work with their audience and what they can and can't afford, and they roll that out. And from all reaction, it is being well received, though we know the most important number to consider is how well it generates revenue.
Yeah. Revenue per square foot. That's the name of the game. We are in while we are in an entertainment business, we are in a real estate business as well. And it is a revenue per square foot number that's important. And my concern, as has always been my concern with F1 Arcade, is how overbuilt they really feel in both the number of simulators as well as the amount of space for their F&B. And, we saw this as an issue with Pinstripes, obviously very different entertainment model, different brand. But I do worry about their level of square footage or square meterage, because that was square meters that they deploy towards their venues.
With my development hat on and my immersive technologies and entertainment hat on, the concern for me stays the same from the first day that I was allowed kicking and screaming into the media launch event for the first F1 Arcade, which is the game. We are now over 4 years into the race that is F1 Arcade, and how much have you heard about the enhancements, improvements, redevelopments of the entertainment component that makes this place tick? Zero. And I am concerned that if they have neglected the game and entertainment component, then they will be sharing the same fate over a larger time and model that our friends at Point Blank have just gone through. Again, there are people that will argue with me that the F1 brand is strong enough, and that what will happen is the F1 Arcade will pivot towards being more of a place you go and watch F1 racing and seen to be seen and drink the cocktails and enjoy the fine food, and the entertainment will be a tertiary component to that. I don't believe that. You don't have arcade in your name to push it to third place. That said, we still wait for ROI numbers, and no matter how much the F1 Arcade team may want to sit on those numbers, there is always a way, and we will find out very soon what their earning numbers have been like and the impact of their entertainment machines on their bottom line. Moving on, and we've had some changes and some movements. Only one this particular sound off. Congratulations to our friends at candymachines.com, who we were speaking with at the AEI show last month. We congratulate Matt on taking on the senior sales executive role, especially with what we've seen from the company, their plans regarding how they're going to place their particular approach to the claw and prize machine business. It's going to be interesting. Baptism of fire, so to say.
Indeed.
For all of you that like The Tourist of Pain, it looks like I might have some airline time to actually tidy this up. We will try at least not to get to May with it still being in its original format. Jumping on into the trends of tech, and for me the big one is that darts, the Japanese darts system, or darts live system that Sega runs, many people forget, is a very successful tournament soft-nosed darts system that is run across many hospitality facilities across Asia. They have attempted to try and ship it into the Western market, and it's had minimal success, but it is already a complicated and difficult market already, the darts sector, and bringing a new machine to that is difficult. But anyway, this is the one part of Sega that no one ever talks about that still has a presence in the amusement industry, as I would call it, or the hospitality industry. And they've just done a transmedia partnership with our friends at Capcom, where the Street Fighter 6 product, which is now predominantly a consumer games release, even though there is a very small release of these as a standalone amusement machines. But anyway, the brand is so popular that they've now created for their digital darts system branding based upon the Street Fighter characters and the updates, and they're running tournaments based upon this. This is the Darts Live 3 systems and is very popular in the Asian markets. But again, it's one of those systems that kind of gets ignored or neglected by some in the industry.
Yeah, and I think part of that has to do with its limited exposure here in the North American market, and so that's why. But I mean, great opportunity to integrate the renewed attention that Street Fighter will get with the upcoming movie, and so to see this, this was a good move by Sega to leverage this IP and in collaboration with Capcom to roll this out across their platform.
Sega's been working very hard upon its licensing and IP positioning, and this is just a reflection of that, and keeping it at home or keeping it with your friends. And Capcom's products have always had some relationship with either Bandai or Sega over the years. Universal, that transmedia interactive gamification component. Universal in Orlando was one of the first to really push the interactive entertainment element around the parks. I know Disney had toyed with a number of promotions and tests of concepts. The Kim Possible smartphone, I speak from experience being around Disney at that time. But Universal really cemented this with knocking it out of the park with the Wizarding World, and they have now upgraded that to the second generation of these wands through the unique movements of the wand over at certain localities throughout the park. Then certain animated effects take place, certain props do certain things, certain images appear in front of screens, and now with the version 2 or the Gen 2 version, it is also synced quite closely with a smartphone app that will continue the enjoyment of the wand beyond just park usage. This is it. This is interactive entertainment engagement away from riding on the roller coaster, away from experiencing the 4D film, away from playing the home video game version or the smart app version. You now have an interface that mixes the physical with the digital.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is also gamification. So in addition to the new features of the wand itself, which is haptic effects, light on the tips, you also have new spell locations because there's Bluetooth connectivity. So now you can connect also with your app on your phone. You can cast a digital Patronus and learn how to do that. But on the gamification side, they actually have a leaderboard that you can join you can earn points for your Hogwarts house. So are you a Slytherin, or are you a Gryffindor or a Hufflepuff or whatever? You can now earn and unlock new spells and locations that you have access to. There's a new dueling club tent that you can experience and unlock special access to, interactive pixies, and some really interesting things that you can do now. And so not only is it enhancing the phygital experience that Universal really pioneered with their original wands, you now have the gamification side as well, where you're competing with others in the park to unlock special secret access.
I totally agree. It's that gamification element that is the most important here. That connectivity with the app, that leaderboard, is going to go a long way towards popularizing this. And there will be FOMO. So people will say, hey, well, my friend's got this and he's having a great time, and I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. We have the other Harry Potter films due. So you could also roll in our friends from CinemaCon into this kind of argument. And our utilization of IP in theme parks from the movie industry. I got the chance to finally see the new Superman film, and a lot of the elements from that film have now been incorporated into the Superman experience at the Warner Brothers studios in Burbank. This again is how this whole transmedia machine works. You have the big budget spent on the film and the secondary entertainment, social media push, but you also have the big budget being spent on the attraction, the physical bricks and mortar approach, and they all feed into each other and they all help grow the brand.
Yeah, but great idea. You already have your studio tours available, and having people coming in and doing those tours. So why not add an experience into that will help promote, obviously, the new direction that DC is going.
Yes, there will be the push for the Supergirl film in here, as well as for crypto. So this is all feeding off of, if you're going to pivot your brand, then it always helps to have a bricks and mortar facility to define that. We touched upon this very briefly in Open and Shut, and I wanted to go into a little bit more detail. Typhon is renowned for developing their own free roaming VR experience. They were one of the first of the companies that had the PC backpack, head-mounted display kind of experience, but rather than going for blasting zombies, they went for a very much couples, mystery, romantic kind of approach to their interactive entertainment that they created through their facilities. At their height, they had about 3 facilities open. Now they're down to about 2, I think, if I'm correct. But they have also been perfecting their technology, and they partnered with XR Center Game Space towards the development of this technology, and they have created a sit-down, so a motion seat, tethered PC experience that again follows their much more cinematic kind of approach to their type of experiences. This is using older technology but applying it to the lessons that they've learned from what their audience. They're literally listening to what their audience wants, and they haven't gone for the latest free roaming arena, high intensity. They've created a much more relaxing and immersive transportation for 2 individuals to experience, and they know their business very well. And that said, our friends at XR Centers have also decided to roll this into their budding business. Their budding business is growing. They have been developing their own VR arena systems using all of the special effects. They've gone for a much more cost-effective, rather than arenas, they're going for a VR cave kind of approach. And they have rolled out, I think this is their 3rd facility that they are rolling out using this technology. And someone pointed something out to me that I had to go away and do quite a lot of research into to find out, which is, oh, this is interesting. This is very similar to those early photographs I had from Sandbox VR when they first opened up their first facilities in Hong Kong. And the light bulb moment, there isn't a Sandbox VR facility in Japan. And there isn't. So you could say that our friends at XR Center could be about to try and establish their type of approach to VR entertainment centers as the alternative to a Sandbox franchise. Why there isn't Sandbox in Japan, I'm going to hopefully have the chance soon to ask the guys at Sandbox VR that when we bump into them. But it is interesting that of all the territories that Sandbox VR is in, Japan.
Yeah, it is strange given Japan's love for VR. Makes you wonder what it is about the Sandbox VR experience that is, that isn't the right fit for the Japanese market.
I bet it's something to do with the franchise. I bet it's, we have to remember that Sandbox VR is funded by a very large amount of investors, but the predominant investors at the beginning were companies like Alibaba. So again, this is a question that we need to pose. Funny how it's always us that are asking all of the interesting questions. Moving on, and that virtual arena kind of experience, that seated VR experience, and then we have the what I call the virtual adventure or the VR adventure kind of system is really gaining ground as a space utilizer, both for museums and for high foot traffic entertainment destinations. Excurio, our friends there who have their chain of or their franchisable platform, have now launched the LBXR Pulse, which is a turnkey version of their system that can be dropped into any venues, able to handle up to 130 users within that. And they actually gave us a little bit of transparency to how successful their virtual adventure historical experience, Horizons of Khufu, the Egyptian pyramid and tomb experience, very popular. And they're saying over its life, it's had 2 million tickets, which is an interesting number for them to select upon. We know now that venues that have been running this are now looking at running other of the Excurio kinds of experiences through their sites. And this new Pulse platform actually allows you to have multiple groups experiencing different. So you don't just have to have Khufu being run through the arena or the adventure space. You can have one group watching Khufu and another group wandering through the painters or impressionist painters of France. I know it's one of their other experiences. This is nice that you can have multiple experiences so you can maximize the utilization of your facility and you're not tied to one kind of offering, so broadening the picture. These are the kinds of applications we're going to see in virtual adventure technology to try and improve the ROI of this kind of application and utilization of your staff. You don't just have staff fixated on one particular experience. But I wanted to kind of illustrate the point that I wanted to make, especially in CinemaCon week, which is how the technology of virtual reality is now broken itself into 3 dedicated ROI models very quickly. Funny enough, our friends at Typhon have pivoted back to what I would have called phase 1 technology with the motion seat and the wand kind of approach, the VR cinema, as they like to call it. We have already talked about the zero latency, the sandboxes, and our friends at Hero Zone with the VR arena approach. And now we have the next phase with what I call virtual adventures, but the VR adventures. And we can see that there are now companies that are in these spaces that are that are seeing strong revenue and are very focused on driving the next generation of application. And it's what happens next at phase 4 for me that is keeping me very interested. Will phase 4 have a box on your head, or will phase 4 be maybe the utilization of these new digital screens that we've been seeing?
Yeah, or some combination thereof, right? Yeah, or something entirely different. Although I think at this point we would have seen something, at least some examples of the next iteration of this coming down the line.
Does feel that way. One interesting thing for me regarding the more traditional amusement approach was I stumbled across our friends at Home Leisure Direct, a company that manufactures customizable arcade cabinets for home use, as well as for corporate and marketing promotion. And suddenly they were promoting that they have now developed a range of arcade cabinets for our friends at Boom Battle Bar. Interesting on 3 levels. Number 1, Boom Battle Bar couldn't find an arcade manufacturer to make them a suitable cabinet. Interesting. Point 2, these are multi-game MAME. So these machines populated with about 100 classic arcade machines. Are these licensed games that they're going to be putting in? Because Home Leisure Direct mainly sells their systems not for commercial use. That's why there isn't a coin box on their machines. These are built for consumer application. And we can see from the Boom Battle Bar machines that there is a card reader there. I think we're about to see some boxes taken out of a Boom Battle Bar facility very quickly, unless someone watches this sound off and then suddenly moves makes the right phone calls to ensure that they're not going to get a nasty letter from solicitors representing any of those 100 classic amusement titles that are going to be played on those machines.
Yeah, I mean, this is pushing the edge, we'll say, especially if there's a card reader component to this and it's a pay for play on what are effectively meant to be home machines and used at home. If this is maybe free play and this is just part of the experience and sitting in there, it's still questionable. I would argue it's as questionable as running an NFL football game on a TV at a sports bar and you haven't paid licensing to NFL. You can get your hands slapped pretty significantly for that. I wouldn't see that. I can't see how this would be any different.
I was having a conversation with Bandai Namco Amusement at AEI, where they were actively ensuring that all of the machines that were representing classic content were being policed properly and had the correct T's and C's. I think our friends at Boom Battle Bar and Home Leisure Direct are going to find out that these corporations are still very litigious, even 50 years on from the release of these games. AI, and Serio has acquired Detrix. The issue I have here is that it's an acquisition rather than a partnership. So they are really doubling down on the control of this technology for their ticketing and data collection model. They also made it clear that Serio Intelligence is going to be pushing very heavily the use of AI in the tracking, the analyzing of data, and also being used in the ticketing and attraction component of their business model. This is a big move. It will be invisible to most of us. We will just see that their analytics tools get much more creative, and they offer much wider platforms for discounting and for seasonality. But a lot of that will be powered by a machine learning engine at the core. Very similar to a couple of sound offs I was talking about, our friends at Gender, and how they were pushing their DX initiative. This is just an example of that from the theme park ticketing side of the business.
Indeed.
Talking about Sony and understanding where their bottom line is. So we're not particularly surprised when Sony announces that they're moving into the AI side of the business by, a special relationship with this, Cinemersive Labs is known for its work on what I would call AI and computer vision related technology. They've also been working on, away from just their AI stuff and their computer vision stuff, they've also been working on the avatar kind of, getting the person closer into the game experience using the latest machine learning capabilities and stuff like this. It's a no-brainer for Sony. This is going to be needed for their next generation consoles, but also their next generation gaming business activities, and having this operation as part of their moves forward kind of points towards what maybe the next generation of console will look like, and how much the game will be developed by AI or developed by human beings.
Yeah, really exciting stuff here, and looking forward to seeing how this evolves and what the next console might be, especially given the fact that they're, as announced recently, that their gaming division has now the top revenue driver for everything.
And that console war may not be about boxes. There's a strong possibility that the future for the console and video games industry is not hardware, but actually the experiences and the content IP. And Alibaba Group had a board and development meeting, which was streamed, and suddenly up on screen a live demonstration was given. Well, a demonstration was given of the one-ton fight, a 1-2 fight or one-tan fight concept. This is using AI and prompting to create the levels and the opponent purely by AI, not by programming. So the basic information is given to the engine. These are the characters we want to use. This is the environment. These are the controls that the player will use to move his character up, down, left, right, kick, punch, duck. And then the AI, through those prompts, was able to then create a video game. was able to have you compete with that character to certain levels, to generate scores, to do special moves. This is, fundamentally AI getting to the stage of the 1980s and 90s with its quality of game recreation through prompting. Scary stuff, but something that we will fundamentally have to understand, that the future of game creation, both in our sector as well as in the consumer game sector, a lot of the background work will be created by prompting and AI. You write the foreword and the AI writes the book.
Yeah.
Automation and autonomous operation is big. We've talked about Ven Hub before, but they've just inked a deal with Caesar Resorts and Casinos, and that they will be removing their traditional human-powered kiosks and usurping them with robotically controlled systems. The key fundamentals here is no member of staff, that these systems also work on a just-in-time, so they communicate with the warehouse regarding when they need to be stocked, and they also employ AI in their learning and their handling of the experiences to the customer. The robots are coming.
Yeah.
CinemaCon, we have the situation where just before Disney got up on stage to tell us the films that they will be pushing to the audience, they then, a couple of days beforehand, sacked over 1,000 individuals. And of those 1,000 individuals sacked, most of them came from the Marvel Studio division. I would hazard a guess that the phrase from the new CEO, streamlining the operation, is the clearest indication we've had that we can expect major changes in the roster and quality of films going forward from Disney after previous management.
Yeah. This is, look, we know that these types of rifts happen from time to time, especially when you have executive leadership transitions. But at the same time, you also wonder how much of this is driven by improvements in AI and, changing technologies. When you see streamline operations, at least in other tech companies, when it comes to software engineers and developers, streamlining operations is we're using Claude a lot more frequently and we need less developers in-house.
I wouldn't be surprised that a number of those individuals on the executive side may have been victims of the failure of their AI partnership that fell through so spectacularly last sound off. But again, it's difficult to speculate this high altitude with the Disney company. It is clear that the new CEO is laying down his rules. Talking point. I had the pleasure of visiting our friends in London of Poolhouse. For all of you that aren't familiar with Poolhouse, we've talked about it in Open and Shut. We've even talked about it in Sound Off in the past, but the founders behind the Top Golf and Putt Shack concept, the infusing of technology into traditional sports and entertainment, managed to secure a couple of years ago, well, no, not that many years ago, over $34 million towards launching a concept that they felt was going to revolutionize the competitive socializing. Third time's a charm. And so we had the doors opened of Poolhouse in central London, next door to a major train station, one of the largest in London, right in the center of what I call the competitive socializing gulch. Valley, let's be kind. Let's call it the London Competitive Socializing Valley. Poolhouse, interesting name. Especially as Poolhouse is a popular name for pool halls, especially in the UK. But they feel that Poolhouse is a strong enough brand for them to do that. This is, gathering together major investment houses to bank down on that these founders are going to strike lightning again. So this was a very telling event. And really, I can only nail this down to the simple descriptive of its projection mapping onto a pool table. This is the core essence of this. There is nothing else here other than a very nice bar, an incredible decor, and very nice staff. But to the basics. The facility is over 2 floors, 21,000 square. 21,000 square.
Wait, it's amazing. That's insane.
20 pool tables of that style. So that large projection infrastructure and full-size tables. You can have a maximum of 14 people around them. And each table comes with its own member of staff. So when you book this, a member of staff as your gatekeeper will be there to help you through the experience. That would be
okay. All right. You finish your thing.
Go back. Add that to the list.
Yeah.
Lovely bar. Top floor layout. Slight problem that they have to draw the curtains for the tables near the windows. Who would have thought that would be an issue? They also have a VIP area, as most of these competitive socializing venues do, named after a famous female pool player. This area is much more snug. This is for corporate parties, and that has its own mini bar. And again, the happy member of staff watching other people play the game. Okay, Brandon, I've had my points. Back to the beginning. Off you go.
All right. Well, let's just start with the economics. You have a £15 per player for a 1-hour game. Assuming you max out at 14 players at each table, that's only a total of $210 per hour. And if you have a dedicated member of staff, plus the square footage, plus the cost of the equipment, et cetera, we're not even talking about CapEx pay down over, alongside the crazy high OpEx to operate this venue. This is I don't know how this economically survives. If you have a dedicated member of staff and you have 5 people there, your initial margin, just if you just take out your staff, your margin is already reduced down to 60%. If you have 4 people, if you have 2 people playing and you have a dedicated member of staff, now you're almost in the hole. You're in reverse, assuming that they're depending on the F&B purchases and everything else. So
that's it. I cannot tell you how expensive the gin and tonic was. I wasn't able, and for the sake of transparency, I was there during the soft opening. The official press opening I was not invited to. But I've been told that I am invited to a one-on-one experience at my calling. So when I come back from my next trips, I will be actually spending an hour in there, and we will be able to tell you A, how popular it is, B, how much their gin and tonics are, and C, how their food sales are doing. Because if you also look around there, there's not a lot of places to purchase your snack food if they are doing a high level snack food basis. But you've hit all the nails on the head, and there's one additional point that I need to bring to the table here. I am not here to shoot down new ideas. The first time I saw a projected pool table system is now nearly 15 years ago, and the quality of the projection systems from 10 years ago for those pool table systems was comparable to what I was seeing being used here. Colors may have been a little bit more brighter, and the game was a little bit more simplistic. The phrase that the person that showed me around the venue used made me have to swallow my laughter and run outside and guffaw. Oh, and for those people that want to turn off the projection system, yeah. Anyway, so I'll break it down simply. You've touched upon just the simple mathematics. These are AI powered game experiences, which do for the first time something that I've been very interested to see actually work. When we talk about gamifications at flight clubs and other venues like this, we know that the games have been tuned to ensure that the worst player isn't left out. Well, now, borrowing from the fantastic AI-powered terminology we use, Poolhouse will be one of the first facilities that has AI physically or subtly, well, let's call it what it is, adjusting the difficulty settings for all of the players. I need to see that in action. I really do need to see that in action, that it isn't visible and doesn't impede upon everybody's experience by someone who suddenly does a fantastic shot, suddenly gets nerfed because someone in their group of 14 isn't playing up to their standard or is just knocking the ball around because they're drunk. Those are the questions we need to have answered. And I'm sure by the time it has taken these guys to get this product to market, that they've been working very hard on the playability and the play metrics. But what I really want to end on is you have dropped this kind of facility into one of the most crowded and contested areas, as I call it, Silicon Valley for competitive socializing. There's a map of 2 square miles.
Yeah.
You near enough have every one of the leading or established competitive socializing venues. And just for our audience's free consultancy, I've put the prices of a one-player, roughly 40 to 60-minute game from each one of those venues nearby. And you can see that Sandbox will always win the bloody hell, that's expensive award. But you can also see that F1 Arcade's not too cheap. You can also see that that our founders behind Poolhouse have made a point of being in the same price bracket as their competitive concepts of previously. This is exactly the same price of playing Putt Shack just down the road from them. Interesting, though, I think the play experience from Putt Shack and the play experience from Poolhouse will be considerably different. And there's a couple of venues there that have gone the way of all fish. I have mounted up their 6s, and I have on that list where the Otherworld VR facility was. And you can see how expensive the Otherworld was, that they were literally on another world when they thought that was a viable concept. But this is a very difficult valley to compete in. You're going to be working very hard, and the audience, who are mainly City of London employees and tourists, such like, it's a very high per cap audience, they have a lot of choices to make. I would say they're overabundant of choices there, to be blunt. It's a very difficult market to turn up. So your experience better be, what was the phrase that the founders of the operation called it? A new social entertainment. I'll be able to tell you hopefully in a couple of weeks if I experienced a new level of social entertainment. Anyway, by the time you see this, I will be getting ready to jump up on stage, or the day after, I think I will be jumping up on stage to present at the London Experience Week event. I've been asked to hold a round table, or to host a round table, to discuss competitive socializing, and one of those slides you've just seen will be used very heavily during that discussion. I would recommend, if you're in the London area, to come to the competitive socializing session, obviously, but I would also say that you will find value out of the WXO organized London Experience Week event. It covers a number of areas in immersive entertainment and location-based entertainment, as well as the future of this sector. And I'm very grateful for the guys who've given me a chance again to present. One aspect I didn't include on that list of London venues was all of the escape rooms that are also littered within that catchment. And one of the things that will be touched upon is the evolution of the escape room business as it pertains to the experience economy. Obviously, in June we have AWE and the LBEXR zone. And we have some big announcements. Our friends from Qualcomm and Snap have now snapped up their opportunity to be part of this event, underlining how important AR is seen as being a component not just of the commercial and enterprise side, but also location basis. Many of our listeners and watchers will know Snap has a very close relationship with Versys, who have their augmented reality entertainment experience. Anyway, that's way more than enough from me. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We have new Stinger reports coming out. We also have a new social arena where I will go into a little bit more detail about the problems in London regarding maybe overflowing of competitive socializing venues. And my email is there if you have any questions or suggestions.
Excellent. All right, Kevin. Well, that was a excellent sound off, and already looking forward to next one. So stay tuned for the next sound off, number 119, coming just 1 week from now.
Have a good one.